I want to share with you something that happened to me, and so I thought I'd share it with you guys, just to help you travel between the EU and the UK a little bit easier. Things have changed a little bit since Brexit, which is a couple of years ago now, but things at the airports have changed slightly. So here's a couple of things that have changed that might affect you, and this is how to deal with it. So first things first, I'm just opening this up here. I want to show you, or I want to get you familiar with a couple of terms that are going to come in and when are they going to come in and how it affects you. So a couple of acronyms or arrangement of letters that you might have heard of. EES. So EES stands for Entry and Exit Systems. So what this is basically how you enter and exit between the borders, whatever European country and the UK, and what's required. So I'll get into that a little bit later. The other one is ETIAS, and ETIAS, ETIAS, stands for European Travel Information and Authorization System. A bit of a mouthful, but that's what it stands for. And again, I'm going to get into that a little bit later. So just be familiar with these. I'll put these up on the screen and I've given you the acronym or the group of letters and also what it means. The next thing that's important to know is timeline. So some of these or both of these systems are introduced in part. So they're not actively doing them right away. They will be shifted in, or they'll be introduced probably quite slowly and have been. But at a certain point, they're going to become a have to. So that certain point is for EES, it is April this year. So not too long to go now. And also ETIAS is in October 2026, or quarter four of this year. So something that you have to think about for sure, and something that rather get to know it now and you'll be able to deal with it later. So let's look at the two types of passport holders and how this affects you. So to start with, and I've got it here, I've got my wife's on because I'm not a UK passport holder, but a UK passport holder. So you've got this little guy. Okay, so the way it affects you coming in and out of a European country. Remember, this is only how you deal with the EU. Other countries such as India, the US, Canada, they have their own rules and they have their own certain things that you have to do. This is just how it affects you in Europe. And Europe used to be really easy if you're part of the European Union. With Brexit, the UK left. But if you're part of the European Union, you basically just walk through borders. Sometimes they ask you for passports, usually not. So that's changed for UK passport holders and for EU passport holders entering the UK. So if you've got one of these and you're a UK passport holder, EES will replace the stamps that you get. So every time you go through a European border now, what happens is they check your passport and they stamp it, right? And then they let you go on. Now, what EES does is it's going to replace that. So you no longer get stamps in your passport. What will happen is you'll get a finger scan and a face scan, and that is maybe introduced already, but it's not too different to electronic gates. So in the UK, we are used to using electronic gates, so it's going to be very similar. In electronic gates, we don't use our fingers, we use our faces for recognition, but you stand there and you wait till your face gets scanned. It's going to be very similar, except the first time you travel, you're obviously going to have to put down your hand. I don't know if it's going to be one or two, maybe only your right, maybe both. And you're going to have to get a fingerprint scan so that they have your data on file. And you'll also have to do a face scan. So I assume in the future, I don't know, I don't work for any of these people, I'm just assuming things. I assume in the future you'll either put down your finger and go through like you do in India, or you just go through based on your face scan like you do at the e-gates. I don't know. But either way, you're going to have to do that. So just to summarize, you're a British passport holder and you're going to go through to a European or EU country. What replaces your stamp is this EES. The other thing is ETIAS. ETIAS is similar to, let's call a US ESTA. So the US use an ESTA, which is electronic visa. And what they do is they capture all your data. You've got to fill in an ESTA online, and then they have your data, and you have to renew it every, I can't remember what it is in the US. I think it's 2 years or 5 years. I can't remember. Anyway, but you have ESTA, which allows you to enter and exit the country. This is going to be very similar to that. And so you've got an ESTA for the US, you've got an ESTA for Canada, you've got a e-visa for India, you're going to need one for Europe. So that's all the changes. It is pretty easy to do online, and then it is valid for X amount of years. I think initially it's going to be valid for 3 years. That might change, but it's going to be at least 3 years, right? So you fill in an ESTA, and then you fill in an ETIAS. They've just got a different name for it, but effectively that's what it is, and that's what you got. So if you've got a British passport, that's what you need. You're going to have an EES, which is going to replace the stamps, and you're going to have ETIAS, which is something that allows you to go, just like a e-visa allows you to get into the US, this is going to allow you to get into European country. If, like me, you are a EU passport holder with a status, settled or not settled, we'll get to that, in the UK, but you live in the UK and you have one of these passports, right? If you go into another European country, no difference. It's a European passport, so you go through as you did before. If so, EES doesn't affect you, so it is not something that you require, but you can, for example, you can still use the dedicated EU lane, right? So when you go into a EU country, it's usually got a lane. You can still use that lane, and you go through there, and usually it's a lot quicker than any other lanes. So you can still do that. ETIAS is another thing that doesn't really affect you. So it's not required if you hold one of these passports. What is required is the following. You need to have a settled or a non-settled status. And for that, you apply to the UK government for that. In the UK government, you go onto the website, which is, I'll bring it up here. So it is www.gov.uk. So this is the government website. It's got all the official bits and pieces. But the one you're really interested in is your e-visas and access to your online immigration status. So what this does is it tells you, so I've obviously done this, it tells you, and you apply for a settled or unsettled status. And depending on a whole bunch of criteria, we're not going to get into that now, but you are given either one or the other. It affects the way you can travel through passports and through passport control. So I've got settled status, or right to remain as they call it, which means I can be in the UK for as long as I want. I applied for that and I got that. So I've got a settled status. What it means when I travel in and out of the UK. Now, somebody in a European airport, so this happened to be in Poland, but anybody in a European airport doesn't really know, you as a non-UK passport holder, doesn't really know your status and doesn't know if you're allowed to go back to the UK, right? There's a whole bunch of reasons as to, and got to do with your status, as to whether you can or cannot go back to the UK, right? So how will they know? What you have to do is you have to link your status to your passport. Remember, it is linked to your passport. So if you renew your passport, you're going to have to link it again to a new document. Your passport doesn't retain the numbers, so you have to get a new one. So you get a new number, you need to go through this process again. But it's honestly not that terrible. And it's not something that's going to irritate you too much. So just do it, and then you travel for years quite easily. It's the same as renewing a passport, right? Once in a while you have to do it. You can complain about it, but it's something you have to do. So once you've done that, if you've got, and this is where it's slightly different, if you've got a settled status like I do, you go to the UKVI website. Well, so the UKVI, I'm going to show you again, it is on, you go within gov.uk and you get this e-visa, and then you start talking about, set up a UKVI account and view your e-visa and get share code to provide immigration status. Those are the two that really interest you. So you need to set up an account, you need to link your passport, and then you get you can get a share code which you give to the person at the airport that asked you, are you allowed to go back to the UK? If you do not have settled status, you need, we've spoken about it before, the European Union is going to bring in something called ETIAS. The UK is going to bring ETA, so Electronic Travel Authority. So it is basically a electronic visa that allows you to be settled in the UK for a limited amount of time, and then you have to reapply. And so you can move from one status to another. It depends on many things. You then link it, and it's valid for 2 years. So you need to link your passport so that the people outside of the UK know if you have settled status or not, or if you're allowed to come back to the UK or not. And then this you prove. And the way you prove it is you go down here, you go to view your e-visa and get a share code. You click on that. It will just ask you how do you normally log on. I normally log on with a passport. I'll put in my passport number here. Hit continued. I'll see for my date of birth. I will put that in here and continue. It's got a 2-factor authentication, so select your phone or select your email. I'll select my email, and then it will email you. So I'll go into my email. I'll find a one-time code, which is this. I can then take my one-time code, put it back in here. It will then give me access. I'll hit continue. And then this is the kind of stuff that the person that you show it to or who can activate the share code will get access to. There's a lovely picture of me. It will have your full name, your date of birth, the passport that or the nationality that you hold. Mine is PRT, Portuguese. And the status that you have in the UK, settled status, also known as indefinite leave to remain. And if you need to prove your status, you get a share code. You click on share code and it goes through. I'm not going to do it again because I've already requested one. But you go through that, gets you a couple of steps, and then it provides you with this. So this is to show you. This is the one I applied for a little bit earlier on. And which I can use now. I'm about to go into Norway. They might ask me Norway, so I'll keep it with me. I'm going to go into India. They're not going to ask me in India because that's a different set of rules, and that's an e-visa that I had applied for, and so that's something I had to do separately. I'm gonna go into Botswana again. That's something separate to that. I don't have to apply for it, but in Norway I do. I'm gonna go to Spain later. They may. I'm going to go all over the place in Europe, and so they may ask any place in Europe. So I need to have this. I've got a share code. I give this to the person. They can then go and activate it, and what they'll see is they'll basically see this, and they'll see my status. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Just to recap, out of these two, right? The recap, if you've got a UK passport, EES replaces stamps, and you will need to do your fingerprints, and you will need to do a face scan to start with. And then ETIAS is European's version of Electronic Travel Authority. You have to do that, and it's valid for X amount of years. Okay, that's how it affects you if you've got that. If you've got and you live in the UK, remember this, if you're Portuguese and you live in Portugal, this obviously doesn't account for you. It's if you've got this kind of a passport, a European passport, to live in the UK, you have to prove your settled status or your status in your passport. So somebody can take a passport in Europe, not know if you're allowed to return to the UK or not. This is a way to do it. So link your status to your passport. I'll show you how to do it. I'll leave all these links in the YouTube if you follow, and then based on that, you go ahead and you share the code with them. Cool. If there's any other questions, please just ask me. Most of you got my email, so ask away. If you don't have my email, you can drop a comment here, or you know how to get hold of me. You'll get hold of me. Cool. Take care and be safe and be legal. It's so much easier.